thanks a lot for your time, Dr. Rowling. Welcome. Yeah, it's probably fair to say that in your career so far, that you've had your ups and downs. What with the record label, the original record label going bust, nearly dying, probably didn't help, and you know, grafting day jobs to self-release the albums. Do you think that with the release of the last album now, your moment in the sun has finally arrived?
It feels a bit more proper now. I mean, just because we've actually had a build up to it. We've never had that. I mean, when the first album came out, it was just kind of soft released. I think we had like one ad in a magazine and like 2 reviews or something like that. And then the last album, it was quite abrupt. We didn't really know what was going on, and all of a sudden we were going to release the album. So this one is, we'd finished the record like you know, in June. So we had a really good lead up and stuff like that. Which was great.
It's nice to have a professional campaign for once, where you know we can properly build up for it and plan where we're going to tour and how we're going to release it and when we're going to release it. It's been great.
I think we're more interested in having as long as possible in the lukewarm rather than a moment in the sun.
Yeah, I think so far you have. You know, it's been a gradual process, and I think you know you're building up a fan base, which you're keeping obviously, and getting more and more people bit by bit, which is probably a wise way to do it, really.
It's certainly a very enjoyable way of doing it, and we appreciate everything that comes our way that way.
I mean, you had to work very hard then, you know, doing day jobs to finance the release then, obviously.
We had a lot of bad luck early on, and then we made a lot of mistakes as well, but I think we learned from those and learned not to make them again. So I think that's sort of put us in a pretty good position. And you know, when Union came out, we made a conscious choice to remain independent, and that's another thing that I guess we're proud of, and something that's worked well for us.
Yeah, no, cool. With and the new album you brought in Ethan Johnson. What did he sort of bring to the mix, as it were?
He's a guy who is very much of the old school classical recording variety. His dad was Glyn Johns, and Glyn Johns recorded the Beatles and the Who, and he's someone that focuses more on the performance than the technical aspects of modern recording. And what that meant for us is that we recorded it live far more so than we have done any other album, and we looked at each other, and when we were tracking all together, and what that meant was we captured something that you just can't capture if you're doing parts individually and kind of making it perfect. There's just a certain atmosphere that you get when 4 people are playing together, and that's what he's a master of. He's a master of capturing that kind of soul, I guess, in the recording process.
It went right down to the album kind of being in 2 parts as well, which is interesting, and so that it's kind of structured that way. I think even on the artwork we have a little line between the first 5 and the last 5 songs, almost like an old record used to be when you turn the record over. You have that kind of there's a kind of like a short break as well, kind of give you a little moment to breathe. And he's old school in a good way. He's not stuck in the past, but he uses lots of elements of old school production to bring out something in our sound that we haven't really found before.
And true, he only had a 30-second sort of demo, and then he said and then he said
it was really weird because I remember the first day we were recording, it was Both Sides Are Even, and we were like, I think one of us said like, oh yeah, you've heard, or something like, when it gets to this point in the song, it's like, no, I'll only listen to 30 seconds of it, and it was like, jeez.
Well, he hadn't listened to any of our previous records either, and I think
that's unusual.
I don't think it really mattered, and what I think it did was just meant we brought someone in who had a completely fresh perspective on and no preconceived ideas on how we should sound or anything like that.
Yeah, and you recorded it in London in Peter Gabriel's studios, then?
Near Bath.
Near Bath,
this place called Real World, which is Peter Gabriel's studios.
Good place. What did you?
It's an amazing place. A place, the kind of place that's fast disappearing now that people can make bedroom recordings. You know, it's an old school kind of live-in residential studio, and the main room, the main mixing room's huge, and yeah, it was obviously built with a lot of money in the 80s by Peter Gabriel, and it's just perfect for recording a whole album.
Great stuff. And yeah, on the film front, you've got a lot of stuff in films, you know, if you go in the distance, but you know, Football Factory, The Forgotten, you know, TV shows, One Tree Hill, Grey's Anatomy.
Is that Forgotten? Were we in there?
I don't know. Maybe
I have no idea.
Apparently so.
There you go.
And but you know, these placements, do you go out looking for them yourselves, or do you get approached by filmmakers or documentary makers?
We get approached, or our publishers will do that. We've kind of been on people's radar the last few years, ever since our second album came out. And yeah, it's been really good for us. I mean, we always say it's kind of like our radio, because we don't really write a lot of singles, and we don't get played on the radio all the time. So it's our best way to reach a bigger audience.
Superb. And working on the going the distance with Drew Barrymore and that, how was that like? Good experience?
Yeah.
Surreal. Yeah.
It's very different from our usual daily lives, and it was a completely different experience creation-wise, because it's just on a huge scale compared to what we normally do. You know, there was a city block of New York shut down for it, and hundreds of crew, hundreds of extras, and yeah, it was just really fun to have that change of pace and have the challenge of writing a song for a specific brief rather than just for ourselves.
Yeah. It was. We made sure it was credible and funny, and read the script, and that we were suited for it, and you know, we weren't doing the wrong thing. And then once all that was definitely the right thing to do, we just really enjoyed it from a perspective of what we normally do, and it was just a complete breath of fresh air, and it was just kind of funny as well, which is important, you know, because I guess for me, I read a lot of interviews and see a lot of bands who don't seem to be having enough fun quite regularly, and I think what we've been through in the last 2 or 3 years, and how we've actually turned it around, and then little opportunities like that really give us a massive opportunity to enjoy what we're doing and enjoy hanging out with each other. And that's right up there with one of the most fun things we've ever done, I'd say.
Cool. With the I know they say just celebrity and that, but I don't know, have you got any celebrity pals now? No? People like Drew Barrymore?
Pals?
We've had
Just
had
each
people,
other.
we've had people that have come out as friends, people that we really respect as well. People like Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and you know, having
we all got invites to the royal wedding, so you know.
yeah.
But we're on tour.
William, Harry.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor actually played with us on stage once.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What did he play?
He plays guitar, but it was actually his birthday.
We played his
Party.
birthday, so it wasn't on one of our
Yeah.
gigs. It was actually we paid him, but
Mm.
Yeah.
He's a fan then, obviously.
Yeah, I think he really
I think
likes
so.
it.
I
And
mean,
Zip.
no, we had a lot of music on the long way down for them as well, and so we were introduced to them through a friend who was a cameraman on the show, and yeah, so that was the connection there.
Superb.
Yeah, it was a weird evening.
On the self-financing front, I mean, you must get approached by sort of labels and that. I mean, especially for the last album, you know, to go down the sort of the, I don't know, more the normal track sort of record company route. What was the, well, why did you carry on sort of self-financing yourself on?
We haven't really been approached by labels. Not as much as you would probably think. I think that either labels think that we're not interested in that, or